Over there, over the tree line, there you can see the pipes and the factory. That's a paper factory which is on the Russian side. And down there you can see the border check area. Cars come from the Russian side to this border check area. They come here for the border checks and then they continue to the Finnish side. People who are coming to Finland, they leave their cars there on the lines and then they come inside to this building for border checks. I started to work here in Imatra border crossing point at the end of 2019. I've been working here for now a little bit over 2 years. This is an international border crossing point between Finland and Russia. And mainly our traffic is personal traffic, people who are coming for mainly shopping to Imatra. And the Finns used to go to the Russian side to buy some goods, some cheap benzene. Since the COVID, the traffic changed dramatically. In 2019, we had 4,000 border crossings per day. Nowadays, due to COVID restrictions and also due to European Union sanctions towards Russia, we only have cargo traffic at the moment and about 30 to 40 trucks going over the border in a day. Days, of course, are at the moment much more silent. When the Ukrainian war started, of course, it was shock for all of us. We monitor the situation all the time. That's important at the moment. So we know what's happening in our surroundings. In our unit works about 100 people. I live here in Imatra. When we heard about the war, I took it very seriously. But at the border, the situation is really calm. Anything happens on the border, we will be the first one to see it.
This is the city of Imatra, which is located just next to the Russian border in the southeastern part of Finland. So we are just approximately 6 kilometers away from the border and the Russian side. And here on the other side of the border there is a city called Svetogorsk, which is the twin city of Imatra. And it was formerly named Enso, which was part of Finland before Second World War. Many people who lived there during the war times had to escape. It was really hard times at the time of the World War II, and when the people had to leave their homes and escape from Russian side, which then belonged to Finland. And for example, my grandparents had a lot of bad memories. My grandfather was injured in the war, and but he never told us, the kids, the bad things about it. So in my generation, it was always quite normal, the relationship between Russians. Imatra is a quite small city. We have approximately 26,000 people. The city was established in 1948, so we are still quite young. Crossing border before this crisis was quite natural to us, also for Finns to visit Russia and also Russians visiting Finland. There was trade. A lot of Russians came here to do shopping, to enjoy their free time in the hotel spas, in the nature, and that was a really important part for the people, for the companies. We got already prepared for the, let's say, these not so good times during the COVID, because border was closed. The last 2 years it was quite quiet because it was less and less Russians coming here, but everyone was waiting for the time when the border would be open again and, let's say, we would get back to our old normal. But then, of course, this Ukrainian crisis changed the whole thing. So the border stays closed, relations have been cancelled. There are no active transactions between cities or between people or between companies. So it's also a huge economical issue for us. Some even say it's 1 million a day. The attack in Ukraine was just devastating news because in such an open and international atmosphere as the whole world is living, I never thought that something like this could happen. And especially when I look back to the time of my grandparents who really experienced the same that Ukrainians are experiencing. It's something like the history is repeating itself, and I'm so glad that they don't see the situation at the moment, because it would be completely devastating for them. NATO issue is really a hot topic in Finland at the moment, and we had a long history of being non-committed to anything, but I think this Ukrainian crisis changed the mentality, because even if people don't say it out loud, but they hope that it would never happen to us what happened in Ukraine. We are a small country and we have experienced the war between Finland and Russia. So I think the positive feeling about joining NATO is really something which comes from the old times, and we really want to find support from the Western countries. I think that the border will stay closed for quite a long period, even if the crisis would be over. And this will be definitely in the minds of the people. And it is, as it's something which cannot be accepted, so it will definitely leave a mark and trace on the cooperation. So it could be years, it could be even tens of years.
This is my father's uniform from the Winter War and also Continuation War. He was wearing this during the battles, and he was a lieutenant at the time. And here in this fresco you can see a shrapnel, a piece of Soviet air bomb which came through the window, and it's still here. Winter was started the last day of November 1939. Soviet troops, they attacked Finland, and we were fighting against them quite alone. And it ended 13th March 1940. Soviet Union won the war, but we still kept our independence. Only that Soviet Union took part of Finland. Next year, 1941, started the Continuation War, and it lasted to 1944. And we were fighting with Nazi Germany against Soviet Union, because no one else came to help us, and without their help we couldn't have survived. The borderline goes only 3.5 kilometers from here, and it's the borderline from 1945. When Soviet Union collapsed, then we had a lot of Russian tourists. They came here to shop, and they own properties here, and we are in very, very good terms with them. For most of my life I've been living in this town close to Russian border. It's no use to be afraid of them, but of course this political situation is very threatening, because we have 1,300 kilometers borderline with the Russians. And you never know what President Putin thinks or what he's going to do. And it is a bit frightening. It's terrible to see those pictures when they are bombing Ukraine. Could say that it's the same kind of situation as it was during the Winter War. This NATO thing is a bit difficult thing. I'm not sure if it's good or not. Maybe we don't have any other alternative but to join NATO. We have been so long in very friendly terms with Russia, but now it seems that it's not enough, that we need help. And let's hope that NATO accepts us to join it, and then if something happens, they are also willing to come and help us.
I started shooting and this kind of things after Ukrainian war started, a few days after that, and now I am practicing as much as I can. I'm a service manager. At the free time I hunt a lot, like deer and moose. Then I have family, wife and kid. I want to use weapons more because there's always Russian danger. They might attack, you never know. It's very machine.
This is sport, this is practical shooting sport. This is our weekly training. We come here twice in the week and we shoot in this range with the rifles and pistols. At the beginning of this year, our club size was close to 1,000. And beginning of the first 2 weeks of the Ukrainian war, we get 200 new members, and now we have close to 410 new members. So our club has grown close to 50% in 1 month because of the Ukrainian war.
This is the Itäkeskus emergency shelter, but it's in normal time. It serves as a swimming hall, swimming pool. It's constructed in 1993. In 72 hours, we are able to turn it to a shelter for 3,800 persons. These shelters are built for much greater threat than nowadays, and we can be sheltered days or even weeks if necessary. The shelters are good protection against every weapon effects, including radiation. This one is therapeutic pool. It's warm water, so you can do different kind of therapeutic rehearsals. It is in Finnish building code that every building above certain size needs to have a shelter. After the Second World War or Finnish War, we started to building shelters in Finland. This is the bedrock that the shelter has been caved in. I never thought that we could be in need for shelters. It is an ultimate tool for ultimate threat. We didn't think that we need them, but the probability is not a zero. It is something, so we need to address the threat.
This place normally is a gym now, but it can be transformed into a shelter. We are training to have this shelter ready if needed. We are closing the doors here, all the valves and air conditioning and everything to keep this shelter safe from explosions, gases. We can have this ready in 9 minutes. We have running water, food, electricity, gas, everything we need. We can be here as long as needed. This is a course for civilians. Anyone can sign. Many new people wanted to start this course, and people are very interested in activities like this, especially after a war.
This is my first time in this kind of course, that how we can prepare a shelter for civilians. Things in the world are changing, so I think it's wise to know even nothing happens, but I think it's really wise to know things. I am not scared about Russia, but I think it's good to prepare for things, that things can happen.
Talo, jossa olimme evakossa ja josta tultiin sitten takaisin Imatralle 1946. Asun Imatralla ja olen asunut täällä vuodesta 1946 alkaen. Ja synnyin joskus 40 evakkoretkelläni Länsi-Suomessa, jonne olimme lähteneet Ensosta, nykyisestä Svetokorskista. Talvisota alkoi Suomessa 1939 marraskuun viimeinen päivä ja äitini oli raskaana ja isäni oli joutunut lähtemään jo sitten rintamalle ja sotaan. Ja niin me lähdettiin sitten evakkoreissulle tosiaan sinne Länsi-Suomeen Poriin. Minä synnyin siellä Kiukaisten pitäjässä kesäkuussa 1940. Ja isäni oli kaatunut helmikuussa 1940, eli synnyin isäni kaatumisen jälkeen hänen syntymäpäivänään. Meillä on sama syntymäpäivä isäni kanssa. Se oli aika semmoinen ihmeellinen sattuma, tosi onnellinenkin. No, hän oli varmaan ihan sotamies. Hän oli hän kuoli 40, niin hän oli 21-vuotinen. Synnyin tosiaan siellä Kiukaisissa, joka on ollut evakkopitäjä, niin jopa näihin vuosikymmeniin saakka on yhteydet säilyneet. Sen jälkeen kun 46 tultiin sitten takaisin Imatralle perheeni kanssa, niin olen asunut siitä saakka. Koko ajan tässä rajan lähellä. Raja on kulkenut koko aika tuossa, että rajalla on semmoinen ehkä 3 kilometriä tästä ja tässä ollaan pyörinyt koko elämäni. Nimenomaan meillä on ollut tämmöinen karjalainen perhe, jossa on puhuttu koko aika tapahtuneista ja myöskin näistä evakkoasioista. Että jopa sanon joskus, että nuorena kuunnellessani niitä sitä niin teki mies jossa pakoon. Että ei aina ole halunnut kuullakaan, mutta mummoni oli tämmöinen karjalainen nainen ja voimakas luonteinen ja puhuu paljon. Ja meillä puhuttiin paljon ja laulettiin paljon. Tämmöinen hyvin karjalainen perhe. Äitini kanssa tai lähisukuni kanssa niin näillä paikoilla Svetogoskissa eli Ensossa ja sitten Jääskessä Kamenokorski. Ja josta sitten minun äitini isän suku oli niin kuin lähtöisin. Ja oltiin tämmöisiä niin kuin kotiseutumatkoja tehtiin. Ainakin 2 tai 3 tein tässä ennen kuin nyt sulkeutui rajat. Ja äitini eli vielä silloin. Muistin, että itkettiin paljon. Joo, että olen nähnyt niin kuin näiden ukrainilaisten paon ja tämän evakkoretken lähtöt, niin oman äitini ja isoäitini kautta tavallaan heidän ilmensä ja tuntensa ja miten ne on koskettanut niin kuin sydäntäni erikoisesti.
I served in Moscow as ambassador from 2000 to 2004. I've dealt with Russia since I was a young man at the Finnish embassy in Moscow in the 70s. Russia is an empire that does not see its limits. And what we now see in Ukraine is an empire gone crazy. There's definitely something where you can compare Stalin's attack on Finland and Putin's attack on Ukraine. Stalin questioned the right of Finland to exist. Putin questions the right of Ukraine to exist. We survived the war. We were never occupied. And we were able to build up a relationship with Stalin and its heirs. We were also able to integrate with European structures. And then after the Cold War, we joined the European Union. Joining the European Union meant that we're not anymore neutral, but we are non-aligned. We were not part of a military alliance. The Russian attack on Ukraine has changed things in Europe drastically. That is the reason why Finland now is about to join NATO. The change of mind in Finland can be explained quite simply. We are a very pragmatic country. We have a history of a bloody history with the Soviet Union. We fought 2 wars. In the case of Finland, a small country with a limited population, it's always about survival, which is not the case with a larger country and a larger population. But here it's a case of survival. Russian attack against Ukraine changed the world. The mood in the population changed to become pro-NATO. It is not a controversial issue. NATO membership is quite straightforward. It doesn't stipulate what you're supposed to do or what you're not supposed to do. There are the rules, you remember, you're bound by the charter. As to how Finland will build its military defense is something which Finland, in a sovereign way, will decide itself. You have the example of Norway. Norway is a founding member of NATO, and at a very early stage, the Norwegians made national decisions that there will be no nuclear weapons on Norwegian soil, there will be no permanent bases on foreign bases on Norwegian soil, and there will be no military exercises in the extreme northeastern part close to the Russian border. This is an example which probably will be studied by the Finnish government. I would say Nuclear weapons, yes, we will not. We'll follow the Norwegian example. As the permanent bases, there's no need for them. There's nothing else to discuss. We will be a solid, self-assured member of NATO with a strong national defense.